everyone, I am Dr. Sindhu. Imagine a 20-year-old college student named Maya. To her browser, she looked lazy because she is failing. To her landlord, she looks irresponsible because her rent is late. But behind closed doors, Maya is drowning, working night shifts, facing eviction, and using illegal stimulants just to keep her eyes open. How do you save someone when everything is crashing down at once? In social work, we use a precise scientific method called social casework. Today, you are going to learn exactly how it works. We are going to dismantle the academic theory, the objectives, the strict professional principles, and the 5-step process by applying it directly to Maya's life. By the time the video ends, you won't just understand this method for your upcoming exams, you will understand exactly how real professional human empathy operates. Welcome to Learn with Dr. Sindhu. What is the ultimate goal when a worker sits down with a client? There are 3 core academic objectives. Let's look at the very first objective, objective 1, to understand and diagnose the root problem. A caseworker looks past the surface level behavior to find the underlying psychological, environmental, or financial distress causing the crisis. Well, let's look at Maya. On paper, Maya's university just see a lazy student who is failing her college courses. But by digging deeper, the caseworker uncovers the real root issue. Maya's financial aid dropped. She took a night shift to pay rent, become completely exhausted, and started misusing stimulants just to stay awake. The objective is not to punish the symptom, it's to diagnose and solve the root cause. This brings us right into our second goal, to restore social functioning. Now, social functioning is a major textbook term. It means an individual's ability to effectively perform the daily roles in a society. Just like being a student, an employee, or a daughter, we have many roles and maintain healthy relationships. When life hits you hard, your social functioning is usually the first thing to break down. We are not behaving normally. Think about how this is playing out for Maya right now. Because of her intense stress, she has stopped returning her family's call, she is ignoring emails from her professors, and she is skipping meeting with her landlord. She is completely isolated and failing in every single one of her daily roles. So the caseworker's objective here is to help Maya patch those broken connections so she can successfully operate as a college student, a daughter, and a tenant again. But how do we do that without making the client completely dependent on us? That is where our final goal comes in. Objective number 3 is to empower self-sufficiency. The core theory here is simple. A caseworker's job is never to become a permanent guide for the client. Our goal is to build up their internal strength and coping capacity so they can solve their own problems in the future. Going back to Maya's situation. The caseworker isn't going to magically pay Maya's rent out of their own pocket, and they certainly aren't going to write her college essays. Doing that would actually fail this objective. Instead, the goal is to sit down with Maya and help her to build budgeting skills, master time management, and develop healthy coping mechanisms. That way, when the next life crisis hits, Maya doesn't need to call a caseworker. She has the tools to handle it entirely on her own. Now, how do we actually achieve those 3 objectives without crossing professional lines? We use the core ethical principles of social casework. Think of this as the rules of the room. Let's look at how they guide us when we are sitting right across from Maya. First up is individualization. This is the firm belief that every single human being is entirely unique. Even if 10 different clients walk through your door with the exact same problem, their stories, strengths, and backgrounds are never identical. So, when Maya walks in, a trained caseworker doesn't just check a box that says struggling college student and hand her a generic pamphlet. Instead, the worker treats Maya as a unique individual. They look at her specific history, her high academic potential, and her personal struggles, tailoring the entire approach to her specific life layout. Next, we have the purposeful expression of feelings. This means intentionally creating a safe, unhurried space where a client can freely vent their pent up anger, fear, or sadness without being hushed or silenced. Imagine Maya sitting in class. The pressure built up and she suddenly breaks down, crying, burying her face in her hands and shouting, I hate this university. Everything is completely ruined and I just can't do this anymore. A casual friend might say, hey, calm down. It's not that bad. But a professional caseworker does the opposite. They let her cry. They allowed her to safely vent that intense emotional pressure because they know healing can't start until the truth is out loud. But while Maya is venting, the worker has to practice principle number 3, that is controlled emotional involvement. This is the delicate art of being deeply empathetic while maintaining strict professional boundaries. You must understand the client's pain, but you cannot absorb it so deeply that you lose your objectivity. When Maya is crying, the caseworker absolutely feels for her, but the worker doesn't start crying with her and they don't get aggressively angry at the university on her behalf. Why? Because if the worker sinks into the emotional storm with Maya, there is no one left to steer the life craft. Keeping a clear, calm head is exactly what allows the worker to be helpful. This leads directly into the next two heavily connected principles: acceptance and a non judgmental attitude. This means accepting the client exactly as they are, with all their flaws, bad decisions, and crises, without pointing fingers, blaming them, or scolding them for how they ended up there. This is the exact moment in the session Maya confesses. I have been secretly using illegal stimulants just to stay awake for my shifts and my classes. Now, an untrained person might say, well, what did you expect? That was an incredibly dangerous choice. But a professional caseworker pauses and suppresses any urge to lecture. They accept Maya right where she is in the exact moment. Their attitude is, thank you for trusting me with that. You are safe here. Let's figure out how we get you where you want to be. Because of that non-judgmental stance, Maya can finally stop hiding and start healing. The sixth principle is client self-determination. This is the core belief that the client has the ultimate right and capacity to make their own choices. The caseworker is not a boss or a parent. The caseworker is a guide. The worker provides the map, but the client drives the car. When building a recovery plan, the caseworker doesn't say you must quit your job immediately and change your college major. That completely violates this principle. Instead, the worker sits down with Maya and says, here are 3 options. We can look to take the pressure off your schedule. Which one feels right for you? Maya has to drive her making the choices, which builds her confidence back up. Finally, none of this works without confidentiality. This is the absolute ethical duty to keep every single detail the client shares completely private and locked within the professional relationship. Maya is only being dishonest because she knows her substance misuse, her financial struggles, and her fears aren't going to be leaked to her professors, her classmates, or her parents. This absolute trust is the very foundation that keeps Maya coming back to the office. Alright, let's wrap this up with the actual mechanics. How does a case moves from start to finish? It follows a strict 5-step scientific method. Just the facts. Step 1. Intake and engagement. Intake is the initial administrative meeting where the client is officially received, basic data is collected, and eligibility is verified. Engagement is the concurrent psychological process of establishing a purposeful, trusting relationship. When Maya first walks into the student support office, intake is where the worker logs her student ID and baseline information. Engagement is when the worker uses a non-judgmental attitude, so Maya feels safe enough to agree to a second appointment. Step 1 is simply about locking in the client. Step 2, social assessment. This is the diagnostic phase. The caseworker gathers and analyzes data to evaluate the client's person in environment situation. It identifies the root psychological and social problems while also mapping out the client's internal strengths and external resources. Here, the worker analyzes Maya's data and diagnoses the overlapping issues: housing risk, academic failure, and substance misuse. Crucially, they also note her strength. She is highly motivated to graduate. The assessment defines the exact battle plan. Step 3, intervention. This is the implementation of treatment phase. The worker and the client collaborate to design and execute a goal-oriented action plan. It specifies clear, actionable tasks for both the social worker and the client to resolve the diagnosed issues. The plan is put into motion. The caseworker handles the macro tasks like contacting a campus housing advocate to pause Maya's eviction. Maya handles the personal tasks like attending student counseling and requesting assignment extension from her professors. Then step 4, evaluation. This is the ongoing monitoring phase. The caseworker scientifically measures the effectiveness of the intervention plan against the established goals to see if it's working or if modifications are required. A month later, they review the data. Maya's eviction is paused, but she is still failing morning classes due to her exhausting night shift. So what to do? They evaluate the failure and adjust the plan to help her swap to an on-campus daytime work study job instead. So stepwise termination and follow-up. Termination is a deliberate, structured ending of the professional worker-client relationship once the goals are achieved and stable social functioning is restored. Follow-up is a scheduled checkup in later down the line to ensure the client is maintaining stability. By the end of the semester, Maya's grades are up, her housing is secure, and she is stable. The caseworker formally closes her file. Termination. 3 months later, the worker sends a quick check-in mail follow-up to confirm she is still thriving independently. To wrap it up, social casework isn't just giving advice, it's a scientific one-on-one method. By blending clear objectives, strict technical principles, and a structured 5-step process, you don't just solve a temporary crisis for someone like Maya. You restore their social functioning and empower them to handle the rest of their life independently. If this quick breakdown finally made casework click for you, press that like button and subscribe for more social work lectures. Drop a comment below and tell me which social work method or exam topic you want me to break down next. Keep learning, and I will see you in the next video on Learn with Dr. Sindhu.